Good afternoon. My name is Dale McCutcheon, and I'm here high atop Peters Mountain in Monroe County, West Virginia for this episode of Discover Monroe County. I'm standing on the deck of the Hanging Rocks Raptor Observatory, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It was originally built back in the early 1900s to provide a fire observation locations. At that time, fire towers were built throughout the Appalachian area to provide a location for observers to spend 24 hours a day during the fire season observing for smoke or fire in a region. And since the view from this location is about 60 miles in every direction, it provided a location where one person could cover a lot of area. The person would call in a fire to a local ranger station, and firefighters would be called out if needed. Later on, most of the other fire towers were taken down due to concerns about liability and maintenance requirements, but this one was saved, and very fortunately. Later on, it became a major location for sightseeing and observation of raptors during the migration season in the fall. In the fall, raptors pass over this area in the thousands, and they include hawks, eagles, and osprey. And what makes this such a good location for their migration, their route, is there are major updrafts along the mountainside here on Peters Mountain on both sides. Since it is a north-south oriented mountain, the winds do come from both directions and provide enough updraft so that the birds, as they pass over, can glide for mile after mile, barely having to use their wings at all. So on a good day in the fall, over 1,000 birds will be seen, and this is probably the second or third highest number count as far as raptors observed on the East Coast, so it is very popular. But there are other elements about Peters Mountain that make it a very special place. One is right below us. The Allegheny Trail starts about 11 miles downridge from here and passes beneath us on its 330-mile route into northern West Virginia. 11 miles south of here also is the famous Appalachian Trail, a 2,100-mile trail that extends from Georgia to Maine. But even more so, this mountain has an importance as far as the natural resources that lie under it. It is known geologically throughout the area as one of the prime sources for some of the purest uncontaminated water in the United States, water that has won several awards. In a sense, it's like a large sponge. There are openings and entrances all throughout the mountain range which allow surface water to enter and which releases the water in springs along the mountainside. Even deeper down, geologists have confirmed that there is an aquifer that may be as much as 10 to 12 miles in length, which holds an enormous amount of water. Once again, one of the largest supplies of water probably in the eastern part of the United States. What I'm getting to here is that this resource and this mountain is of very great importance, and I want to bring to your attention today a threat to this mountain and to the resources that it contains. That threat is a 42-inch natural gas line pipeline that has been proposed. It's called the Mountain Valley Pipeline, and one of the routes that has been proposed through Monroe County will pass about 1/3 of a mile southeast of this location on the little ridge there that you can see in the distance, and it will extend from northern West Virginia into Virginia on its 300-mile route. And the concern is very great here. As you can see, looking off to my right here as well, Peters Mountain geology is basically outcroppings of huge size, and this happens all along the mountain range. And to build a pipeline across this type of terrain is a monumental undertaking. And the concern is that in building this pipeline, which will be the width of a 6-lane highway, basically what is involved is coming in, cutting away the brush, clearing the land, clearing the topsoil, and excavating down to bare dirt, and then digging a trench 6 to 8 feet wide by as much as 10 to 12 feet deep. And as you can see from the geology here and the rock outcroppings, that it would be requiring an extensive amount of dynamiting. and this presents some major problems as far as the underground water sources. A geotechnical analysis has been proposed which will theoretically determine the impact of that blasting, but I don't believe that is a possibility. We simply cannot tell the effect that it will have as far as changing the geology underneath and creating disturbances that may result in substantial contamination of the water supply or loss of the water supply. Other scenarios that are possible are accidents on the side of the mountain. The mountaintop excavation will be on terrain so steep in places, up to 55 degrees, that the excavating equipment will have to be cabled to the mountainside to hold it in place. This creates the ideal environment for accidents and other situations wherein hazardous chemicals such as diesel fuel can be spilled and can go into the mountainside through openings to contaminate the water source. Other problems that occur in this type of terrain are extreme erosion, sedimentation, and landslides. Imagine, if you will, a great amount of rainfall during construction when the pipeline trench and the excavation is open from the top to the bottom. What we call a gully washer here in West Virginia. What would be created would be a huge, muddy, debris-strewn stream running down the mountainside, which would overwhelm any water source that it came into contact going down the mountain, and would create a huge contamination issue, possibly changing the water courses in certain respects. So it is a major concern for us, and that's why we're here today, to try to bring this information to you, the public. We're going to continue on down the mountainside in a few minutes and look at some of the other potential problems with the pipeline. Thank you. We're continuing our hike across Peters Mountain along the proposed Mountain Valley Pipeline routing. Before you is a stream we have named Steele's Branch in honor of a historical family that settled here back years ago. It's my understanding that this branch now serves 6 families, and the pipeline would run very close and possibly over it in one location. It starts back up the mountainside, perhaps a half-mile away from here. So it is one of the concerns that we have as far as the pipeline affecting the water sources on Peters Mountain. Here's another example of the stream coming out the south side of Peters Mountain, near or practically on the path of the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Just another example of the hundreds of streams that come out of the mountain in various locations. Here's another example of the extreme water associated with Peters Mountain. We're nearing the bottom of Peters Mountain near the North Fork of Potts Creek. And this little wet area here, as I mentioned before, is indicative of the many, many locations along Peters Mountain where water sources come out of the mountain at various times of the year. We've now reached the bottom of Peters Mountain in our trek along the proposed Mountain Valley Pipeline routing. And we've come to a location along the North Fork of Potts Creek. This creek is a native trout stream, and by that it means that trout can reproduce in this stream. That it's not just a stream where trout are stocked in, but it is a natural native trout stream, one of only 2 in Monroe County, and it flows on down into Potts Creek and into Virginia from here. And as you can see, it is a very pristine and a very beautiful stream, and our concern, of course, is great as to how the stream will be affected by the Mountain Valley Pipeline route. This is the end of our journey across Peters Mountain along the proposed Mountain Valley Pipeline routing. I would like to invite you to join us for any future hikes. We will be walking as much of the pipeline routing in Monroe County as possible to try to locate and be aware of potential impacts that a project like this could have on our beautiful and very unique area. I would also ask you to consider joining our organizations, either SaveMonroe.org or PreserveMonroe.org. You can find us on those websites, and you can get more information about what we are doing, and you can donate, or you can join us and be more involved in the processes that we are involved in opposition to this pipeline. And please join us for future pipeline episodes here, and we will try to bring even more information to you.